Hey, welcome back to the Morning Brew. Tuesday morning, April 9th. A few showers in Albuquerque today. We hope you're going to have a wonderful day. I'm Larry Aarons, along with Aaron Muffaletto, our co-host here on the Morning Brew. Before I introduce our guest today, let's show an image of the building. It's the New Mexico Scientific Laboratories. You've seen it there. There it is, right there by near the Big I on I-25. Gorgeous looking building. And the gentleman who's in charge of the facility is with us today, David Mills. David, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Everybody wonders what the heck goes on in that place. What is the New Mexico Scientific Laboratories all about?
Well, thank you for having me. The New Mexico Scientific Laboratories is actually the name of the building, and it has 3 different agencies inside. So I oversee one agency. I oversee the Scientific Laboratory Division of the Health Department. Also in the building is the State Office of the Medical Investigator and the Agriculture Department's Veterinary Diagnostic Services. So it's actually a consolidated laboratory facility for the state. And we each have different roles, but we all work together.
So no secret stuff happens in there?
No secret stuff, but interesting stuff happens. Let me go over the other agencies. First, the Office of the Medical Investigator, which is a UNM agency. They do death investigation for the state. So that is where most of the autopsies occur in the state and investigation of cause of death. The other institution in there is the Agriculture Department's Veterinary Diagnostic Labs. And they do testing on animals, wildlife. They're the reference veterinary testing lab for the state. So anything unusual that veterinarians or game and fish department in the state get in, they'll do testing on it there. Now my unit, the Scientific Lab Division, we're the state's public health laboratory, environmental laboratory, and forensic toxicology lab.
So if some disease is happening around or some kind of food poisoning or something that breaks out, you guys in the lab there would take care of that.
Exactly.
And analyze it and all that.
Outbreaks are what we do. So whether it's in food, humans, even if it's in animals, if it can spread to humans, we do the testing. So what's different about us is hospital labs and private labs, they'll diagnose the individual patient. If you go in with something, they'll see what you have. What we do is if it's something unusual, it'll come to us. If it's out of the ordinary, plague, rabies, SARS, West Nile, those things come to us. And then also, if it affects more than one person, if it's an outbreak, we do that testing.
So is this on a local level, just within New Mexico, or is this national level as well?
We do it within New Mexico, but we're kind of the gateway to the Centers for the Disease Control in Atlanta. So we're tied in with national outbreaks too. And we do testing on food. We do the dairy testing for the state. And then the other thing is most people don't know is we're the Bioterrorism Response Lab for the state. So any white powders or threat samples, they come to us. We look for toxic chemicals and agents.
Now this facility, it's a fairly new building. How long has it been there now?
We moved in the fall of 2010. So we've just been in there a little over 2 years.
The question is, where did you all do this before?
Yeah.
It sounds like, it looks like you have this great big new facility. What were you housed in prior to this?
Before this, we were on the campus of UNM, on the North Campus, and we were in a very old building that didn't work very well. And it was important for us to move into the new building, largely for the safety of the people that work there, because the things we work with, you need a state-of-the-art
kind of nasty stuff that comes across the desk.
It's nasty stuff, yes. Yeah.
When were you all established at the new building?
We were in there in September 2010.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah, we're getting settled.
Yeah.
The other things we do in my unit are, we are the Environmental Regulatory Lab for the state, so we test water, soil, air, for toxic chemicals, radiation, and so on, for federal regulations, Safe Drinking Water Act, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act. And then the third thing we have is forensic toxicology. So we do drug testing for DWI and driving under the influence of drugs for the whole state. We train and certify all the police in the state to do alcohol testing in the field. And then we also we support the veterinary unit and the OMI. We do infectious testing and chemical testing and drug testing for those units too.
How many people work in that place?
I
Roughly?
think there's probably about 220.
Huh.
The scientific lab division, the health department, the unit that I oversee, has about 133. I believe OMI has around 50 or 60, and then the veterinary diagnostics is a smaller unit. It has about a dozen.
So is this a New Mexico agency, or is it something privately owned?
Though this is all three agencies in there are public agencies. The veterinary is New Mexico Department of Agriculture. The unit I oversee is Department of Health, and the OMI is University of New Mexico.
Now, David, you mentioned that this facility was in an old building on UNM's campus. Obviously had some limitations. What are you able to do in this new building that you couldn't do in the old place? What kind of functions are you now able to process that you couldn't do before?
Well, one of the things we can do is we can handle agents, agricultural agents like foot and mouth disease. There's a chicken disease called exotic Newcastle. These things are very contagious, and they require special units. So we have that in this facility that we didn't before. And then a lot of it is we just have more space and it's better laid out. So a lot of what we're doing now is molecular diagnostics on infectious diseases, where we still grow up the organism in traditional microbiology type fashion, but we're doing a lot more testing on the genetic material so we can turn things around faster. And for that, if you remember the OJ trial,
sure,
there was a lot of question and concern about contamination in the laboratory.
Yeah.
When you're working with these molecular diagnostics, contamination's a big issue. And we've got state-of-the-art facilities now where we don't have to worry about that so much. The other thing is, for some of the dangerous things we work for, airborne, I don't have to worry about my staff contracting it when they're working on it, which is a big deal.
And being the mysterious laboratory building, do you have any unusual things that happen there, or any noteworthy?
We've had some interesting things over the year. You know, it's kind of boring routine,
right,
punctuated by exciting things. I can mention a couple. Back in 2004, when they were broadcasting the Democratic candidate's primary, that was with Al Gore and everybody here, it was being broadcast from Popejoy, the first debate.
Oh, yes.
I was there, yeah.
About an hour and a half before that debate started, we got a call from the Secret Service saying that they'd found a car in Popejoy's parking lot full of huge jars of antibiotics and a rubber suit that looked like a biologic suit.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
they called on us, and we were doing our threat testing, our bioterrorism type testing. And right up until about 20 minutes before it went live nationally, they were waiting to hear from us whether to cancel it or not.
Wow.
So we have some things like that. We have break-ins in water supplies where they'll shut down the water supplies until we can test and find out, you know, these huge storage tanks you see dotted all over. We've had some break-ins around the state. Some interesting outbreaks. A few years ago, there was I don't know if you remember, there was a E. coli outbreak in spinach all across the country.
Yes.
It was raging for about 3.5 months. We actually broke the case because we do DNA fingerprinting there, but we do it of the organisms that are making the people sick. So we actually did the DNA fingerprinting on one lady who was sick, and we were also able to get the spinach from her refrigerator, and we did the DNA fingerprinting on the E. coli from her and from the spinach. We were able to link it. So after 3.5 months of chasing this around, we called the CDC in Atlanta at about 4 in the afternoon, and at 8 the next morning, they announced, well, it's from one of these 3 lettuce fields in California because of the
It's like
tracking back.
the food detectives, you
Yeah.
guys.
Yes, at times.
In a way, it is.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Now, one more question. Can anybody come in and take a tour of the place, or are you pretty much closed to the public?
We're closed to the public. We're a secure facility because we do work with pox viruses and things. So we have to we work with things that can be used as biologic weapons, so we're under a lot of federal regulation, but we certainly give tours. You just have to be escorted, and so if people contact us, we're happy to show the public what we can.
Fantastic.
Right.
Well, it is great to finally know what goes on in there.
Well, it's a pleasure to be able to explain it.
Nice to know it's not some crazy, mysterious place.
No, we're actually one of the less publicized but critical functions of government.
You really are. So. In a beautiful building, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, now you know what happens in the New Mexico Scientific Laboratories building. David, thanks for being here on the Morning Brew.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
David Mills, our guest with New Mexico Scientific Laboratories. I'm Larry Ahrens, along with Aaron Muffaletto. In just a moment, we'll introduce our friends from ADL on the occasion of their 100th anniversary. That's next here on the Morning Brew. Stay with us.